No, it's Columbus Day apparently. Didn't have Les to tell me what day it was, so I didn't even realize it. But they're moving some things around in studio, so he asked if he could bump him up an hour, and we can bump him up an hour, and we will. So we'll chat with Denton Day coming up at 1:30. Let's start with LSU and Missouri. Here's the deal. This is the template. This is the roadmap. This is the identity. This is who LSU is at this point. It's probably not going to change very much. So you just buckle up every Saturday and you get on the ride, and you know that there's going to be a lot of points scored for both teams, and you got to hope that LSU finds a way to be great on offense like they have been pretty much all year, and they find a couple of plays here or there on defense, couple of third down stops, couple of sacks, couple of turnovers, one thing or another to stop the other team from getting points, and that's how LSU is going to have to win football games. That's it. And we saw it on Saturday. And they did enough. They scored a ton of points. They scored 49. That's a lot of points. Jaden Daniels was unbelievable. He's got a great wide receiving core. Logan Diggs has settled in as the bell cow. The offensive line is playing brilliantly. They scored a lot of points. That's step one. Step two, defense, find a way. Give me something. And quite frankly, the first three drives were not very confidence-inspiring. Missouri was going through LSU like a hot knife through butter. It was just that, but it's not like we hadn't seen that before. But they found a way in the second half to force 2 punts, got a turnover on downs, and then had to pick 6 there at the end. That's 4 drives that you got stops on in the second half. And that's going to be, generally speaking, enough for this team. So do we need to become a top 3 run-stopping unit in the SEC? Well, that'd be great, but it's not going to happen. Do they need to add a little bit more talent in the secondary? Yeah, but that isn't legal. So what the situation is this is the group. These are the guys. You got to go out there and find a way to do enough. And in saying that, the defense wasn't very good on Saturday. Brady Cook threw for 395 yards. Missouri ran for 132 more. That is 6.3 yards per carry on the ground. A transfer from Division II Truman State easily went over 100 yards in the game. The defense wasn't good. Statistically speaking, the eye test, any way you want to slice it, the defense did not play well on Saturday. They did enough. Perkins gets the interception. That was an athletic play. Swinson comes off the edge, gets the strip sack to knock the ball back 30 yards. Burns has the pick 6. Mason Smith got in on the act with the sack. These are the statistics that now we'll have to look to. It's no longer going to be looking at the yardstick. That's not going to look very good because LSU's not going to be a great defense. You're just going to have to point to the individual plays, when you make them and where you make them on the field, and that's going to have to be the way that this LSU defense helps LSU win as many games as they're going to win. And that's what we sat through on Saturday, and guess what? We'll probably sit through it again 5 days from now in Tiger Stadium. The defensive line, sure, they crowded the line of scrimmage a little bit more. They did. You were better on third down than you were in Oxford. You held them to 4 out of 11. There were a couple of points that were good. And the fact that they did get 4 stops in the second half was a good thing. But we just have to change the way that we've looked at football around here for a really long time. Because this has been a program over its golden era. These basically 20 years, you want to go back to that first national championship under Saban, LSU's been an elite defensive team, an elite defensive program. There are years you can point to where they weren't. They were terrible on defense in 2020. Gotcha. The 2013 team wasn't good on defense. They lost so much talent to the NFL early from those 2011 and 2012 teams that by the time you had to field a unit in 13, there just weren't enough older players there. But you can point to the years where you weren't good on defense. The offense is what we've been waiting on. And when you get a really good offense, generally speaking, you're going to have a great team. And LSU's got one of the best offenses in the history of the school right now. But that group that we're used to seeing, we're used to mentally processing and counting on each and every Saturday is just not there. I tweeted this out, And I'm certain that most of you probably felt the same way. But LSU went down the field. They were losing the game by 4 points. Went down the field, 5 plays, 75 yards in 2 minutes and 42 seconds, and scored a touchdown to take the lead with 2 minutes and 58 seconds. And I don't think there was one person that pulls for LSU that went, oh, that's great, awesome. We scored to take the lead. This is fantastic. Nobody thought that. How warped are our brains at this point that scoring a touchdown to take the lead with 2 minutes and 58 seconds is automatically a bad thing? I mean, I don't think anybody that's listening was like, yep, there we go. Good job, guys. Way to go. Touchdown. We got the lead. Everybody's like, well, they're definitely going to score. The question is, are we going to get the ball back? Like, that's where your brain goes, because we just did this in Oxford. We just did this against Arkansas. It's like, yeah, it sounds good to take a 3-point lead with just under 3 minutes to go, but that actually is a terrible thing, because they're going to go right down the field, and somehow, some way, Major Burns stepped in front and got a pick. I mean, you want to talk about a change in psyche and like changing the way you watch a football game and react to things. If I would have told you back in 2009 that, hey, you're going to score a touchdown to take the lead with 2 minutes and 58 seconds to go against Missouri, you'd go, oh, well, that's a winner. Just put the defense out there. Just get a stop. Just get one stop. And that's an era where you were begging for points offensively. Not begging for points with this team. Just begging for the clock to run out so the defense doesn't have to go back out there. So look, good job by LSU to do enough to win the game on the road. We're going to talk about the offense in the next segment, but I think the defense is probably where most people want to start. But in summation of the entire thing, independent of the offense or the defense, it's the two working together to score more points than the other team. And good on LSU for going up there to Columbia, Missouri in what was described to me multiple times last week as the biggest game Mizzou had played at home in 9 years. To answer the bell when you get down 22-7 and it all looks awful. For the defense to bow up, get a couple of stops late and make a couple of big plays. For the offense to always have the resolve, the skill, and the ability to execute and put points on the board. And it's a good thing. It's a good win for LSU. I still don't respect Missouri. This was the gist of my pick on Friday was not in the X's and O's, was not in any of the adjustments, was not in the. It was purely, I feel like as an LSU fan, I shouldn't have to respect Missouri. Now, granted, I don't play, so we don't have to worry about. I'd like the players to respect them and go out there and play. Me personally, Hunt Palmer, I don't even like that Missouri's in the SEC. And I don't like that I did a hit on the St. Louis radio station last week, and they wanted me to compare LSU's current offense to the Cam Newton offense when Cam Newton played for Auburn. I feel like I'm talking to St. Louis Cardinals fans up there that have no idea what goes on fall Saturdays. So that's why I leaned the way that I did. But the fact is that LSU's got to respect their opponent. They went out there and they got to win on the road, and now you flipped the schedule. You had a situation where to open the season you were on the road against Florida State, on the road against Mississippi State, on the road against Ole Miss, on the road against Missouri. 4 of your first 6 on the road. Now 5 of your last 6 at home with the one road trip going to Tuscaloosa. So are you in great shape? No, you've got 2 losses already. You're not in great shape. Are you still clinging to some of your preseason goals? Absolutely. And do you have a ridiculous offense that's super fun to watch and is going to give you a chance to beat everybody you play? Yeah. And we're going to talk about the offense coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
It was a humid day, barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We're recapping your football weekend. We'll talk LSU, Mizzou, Saints, Patriots. We'll hear from Brian Kelly. Join us for Monday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This offense, y'all, is absolutely ridiculous. I mean, they are about as efficient as you can be. And I don't think it's ludicrous or disrespectful or any of that to start talking about this offense the way that we talked about the 2019 offense. Now, they're going to have to do it against some better teams. I didn't say they're already as good or they're going to get drafted as high or I'm not going there. They got to do it against Alabama. If they were to get to Georgia or something, like they'd have to do it there because the 2019 offense wasn't stopped ever. And so beating up on Missouri and Ole Miss, Arkansas ain't going to, ain't going to do it. But in terms of efficiency and playmaking ability and just putting up boatloads of points, like this offense is approaching that type of level. They're not there yet, but they're really good. I mean, you look at these drives in the middle of the game. An 11-play, 44-yard field goal drive, 6-play, 45-yard touchdown, 8 plays, 61 yards down for a field goal, a 2-play, 45-yard touchdown drive. Then they get down and have that ridiculous disaster of a goal line possession where you get a holding, Jaden Daniels gets hurt, you bring Nuss in there, you got 2nd and goal from the 16, you drop a snap, then there's a clap on the D, then you miss a 28-yarder. Like, there was a lot of weird stuff that went on down there, and it should have just been a touchdown when Jaden Daniels went into the end zone. But that's the one time you didn't get points, and that was a 64-yard drive that went 9 plays, and then back-to-back touchdown drives of 92 and 75 yards when you absolutely had to have them in the fourth quarter. It is absolutely clinical. And the thing about this offense that's so difficult for teams to deal with is that they're able to hurt you in so many ways. Jaden Daniels can crush you on the quarterback draw or when the play breaks down and he just extends it and outruns your linebackers to the corner and he's just a nightmare to try to deal with. They've got an elite number 1 wide receiver in Malik Neighbors, who's one of the top 5 or 6 wide receivers in college football. And they've got a number 2 who's playing awesome as well. Now, BT did have the 1 drop, but he had another touchdown, 66 yards receiving in this game. So they've got a 1-2 punch at wide receiver. They've got a great tight end. They've now got a running game led by a running back who is playing great. I mean, Logan Diggs, 24 carries for 134 yards. I don't know why they wanted to go to the ground significantly more in this game. I don't know if that's to try to help the defense out. I don't know if that's because they thought they could gash Mizzou at the point of attack. I don't know why they decided they were going to run it more than they were going to throw it in the game, but it was great because Logan Diggs averaged 5.6 yards per carry and went for a $134 on the day, and then Daniels chipped in with 130 of his own. And then the thing that ties all of this together with the great quarterback who's a dual threat and can get the ball down the field and 2 great wide receivers and a very good tight end and a running back that's found his way. The thing that ties all of this together is that the offensive line is absolutely kicking people's butts at the point of attack. You knew about the tackles, the 2 freshmen that are coming into their sophomore year this year, and you were very veteran on the interior. Well, then Charles Turner gets hurt, and you go to DJ Chester, a freshman, and he looks good. So it's a point that we were actually correct on in August when we were talking about this team going, look, I think if they block, like, this is going to be a really good offense. And fast forward, here we are into the middle of October, they're blocking, and it's a really good offense. I mean, I have no doubt when they get the football that they're going to take it down and score. And Jaden Daniels has made that leap that we've been talking about. He has no issues throwing the ball down the field at this point. He's not one read and run. He's not depending on his legs too much. That was kind of what we were looking at last year. I remember very distinctly in the game against Southern last year, he takes a snap in the shotgun, and there's a guy running wide open down the middle. I don't know if it was Booty or Neighbors. It doesn't matter. But the guy was running wide open down the middle of the field, and Jaden tucked it and ran. He ran for like a 25-yard touchdown. He made the linebacker miss and outran everybody to the pylon and scored. And you're sitting there going, oh, yay, touchdown. And I'm sitting there going, that's not going to work against Alabama. Like, you can't – you got to get the ball down the field. You've got to play with your eyes instead of just your legs. He's playing with his eyes. The only complaint I've got with Jaden Daniels at all at this point, it's singular. Slide. Run out of bounds. Stop getting crushed every time you take every game. Once or twice, he's getting hammered. You don't have to do that. Just get out of bounds. Get down. Had the rib injury, was clearly in pain. First time I've seen an LSU quarterback with that rib injury. So, well, I guess Miles had a rib injury, which is pretty significant. But Joe had the cartilage injury at halftime of the national championship game on that throw to Moss over the middle right before the half and came back and played in the second half. But Brian Kelly was asked about it today. He said he's fine. He's going to practice. Should be a full go, and he should play. But, man, that's the one thing you got to have his health. because he makes this whole thing go. I think Garrett Nussmeier's got a chance to be a really good college quarterback, but I don't think there's any question at this point that Jaden is the dude and a dude and in line for every single. If LSU was fielding a general LSU defense, if LSU's defense was as it usually is in the top 25 in the country in all your statistics, which is what good LSU defenses generally have done for the last 20 years, Jaden Daniels would be right there in line for the Heisman Trophy. That's how good he's playing. Now, that trophy oftentimes goes to players that are on really good teams. And LSU right now is a 2-loss team, which at this point in the calendar doesn't make you a great team. But Jaden Daniels is playing great. And I'll say this as we're removed from the emotion of a big game and we're moving forward into a new week. Like, LSU can beat everybody on their schedule. The defense is not good. It's not going to be good. They're going to give up a lot of points. But because of LSU's offensive versatility and their balance and their efficiency right now, I don't think there's a defense in college football that's going to shut them down. Now, you can drop the ball. You can get holding penalties, turn the ball over here or there. Jaden Daniels could get injured. I mean, things can happen by the time you get to Alabama, and A&M's defensive front's really good. And if you were to get to Georgia, and that's all down the road. But like, I don't know what you would do to really stop LSU. They've got a good offensive line that should be able to hold its own. You've got a great decision maker, an elite athlete at quarterback, and you've got really good skill position players that put a lot of stress on college defenses. And so it goes back to the point that I made right out of the chute here in the first segment, talking about the defense. Is like, this is what we're going to see every day, every Saturday. Games played in the mid-upper 30s into the 40s. That's just what this is going to take. And I don't think that Brian Kelly's going to want to do that very often moving forward, but at this point, you are what you are. You've got what you've got. And what you've got is a defensive secondary that doesn't cover very well, a defensive front that's not rushing the passer all that well, some youth at linebacker, and then an offense that's just firing on every cylinder it can fire on. It's entertaining, I'll tell you that. It's way more entertaining than watching those games in 2008 and 2009. It's up and down. It's back and forth. It drove us to the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, just game to game. But it is what you are. And LSU wins it 49-39 against Missouri in a classic. We'll hear from Brian Kelly and some sound of his a little bit later on in the show. I still want to talk about the Saints a little bit later on in the show. My thoughts on the Southeastern Conference, as there were some pretty significant results back on Saturday, of course, in College Station and over in Athens, Georgia. Got some thoughts on national college football, which we'll get to with Denton Day here coming up very, very shortly. He hosts College Football Overtime on SiriusXM each and every Saturday. Usually he's with us in the second hour on Mondays, but today we're going to jump to Denton a little bit early because he's got some priors when we're in hour number 2. So lots and lots to get to here on this Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Still lunchtime on this Monday. How about Jersey Mike's? Get on by at Jersey Mike's. We invite you to head over to the store on Highway 30 in Gonzales near the new Heritage Shopping Center. They got some awesome hot subs over there. Got the cheesesteaks, Mike's famous Philly with the grilled onions, peppers, white American cheese, the Chipotle cheesesteak with grilled onions, peppers, and the Chipotle mayo. They got a new item, the grilled portobello mushroom and Swiss. Fantastic stuff. Get on by there for a late lunch. And we always remind you that they have great catering options at Mike's. Got a game coming up on Saturday. If you're heading out to tailgate for LSU and Auburn, go get a Jersey Mike's tailgate pack. They're fantastic. They can do a 12-sub box. They can also do individually boxed lunches. If you're trying to feed the office, Jersey Mike's is a fantastic, fantastic option. 20% off your catering order at the airline, at the Highway 30 in Gonzales location. 20% off for listeners of the Hunt Palmer Show. So place that catering order on the Highway 30 location. 20% off for Hunt Palmer Show listeners. You can download the Jersey Mike's app or hit them up online, jerseymikes.com. Make it Jersey Mike's.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles.
Coming up on Tuesday's OTB, we close the book on another week of football as we open the page to a brand new one. First look at another Tiger on Tiger battle with Auburn, plus brand new OTB mailbag off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Hope your work week's off to a good start. We'll head to the Jim's Firearms Hotline a little bit early on this Monday. Chat with our guy Denton Day. Sirius XM College Football Overtime on Saturday evenings. He joins us now. Denton, how are you, sir?
Hunt, what's going on, man? Another great week of football with a lot of coaching blunders, but it made my life a lot easier.
What was the biggest coaching blunder?
I can't believe Mario Cristobal didn't take a knee.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know if it's like some weird Game of Thrones fantasy. He never wants to bend the knee, so he never takes the knee. But, I mean, for the love of God, guys, just kneel the ball. No rep that you're getting there is more important than the game itself. And the fact that he's already done it a couple of years ago, I mean, that's a rough look for old Mario.
And it's on him. But, like, anybody else that's got a headset on want to suggest maybe taking a knee? And this is not a hard concept. It happens in like most games, and that's the spot where you need to do it when you've got a 1-score lead and you don't have to run the ball. I don't understand why no one. If I was the quarterback, I would have said no. We're taking a knee. That's crazy to me.
there's only about 40 guys on the staff there that have access to a headset that just kind of stood by and let that happen. It was a disaster from literally every perspective. And he's like, well, maybe I should have called a timeout. I'm like, yeah, you can call a timeout to kind of settle yourself and then take a knee. Like, this should be easy to understand. I can't believe it, especially when you consider, Hunt, the ACC, outside of Florida State, the ACC is pretty open, but there's a lot of good teams. A loss like that could really hurt them down the stretch. It's embarrassing.
Oklahoma was kind of left for dead after year one of the Brett Venables era. That was a pretty strong statement on Saturday for the Sooners.
Yeah, if they were left for dead last year, they rose up like Lazarus. This was awesome. I mean, we watched a classic unfold right in front of our eyes. And how about Dylan Gabriel, man? The stones on that kid. I came into that game anticipating to see Quinn Ewers go crazy, and we left that game talking about Dylan Gabriel and the Oklahoma defense. I mean, there were certain points early in that game where it felt like Oklahoma had 15 guys on the field defensively because they were everywhere. I mean, they were suffocating, especially once you got closer and closer to the end zone. Their performance was really, really impressive. I was ready to beat my chest about Texas, put them number one, and then the way that Oklahoma came out and performed, they're a legit college football playoff contending team. I never thought I would say that this year.
What do we think, big picture, about those two entering the SEC next year and where they fit into that pecking order pretty quickly?
I think right now they're in a pretty good spot. It just so happens that they are each having really great years on a year that the SEC, all things considered, is having a relative down year. Although, as we say that, Alabama has seemed to turn the page a little bit. They might look like maybe they're not so dead when it comes to the conversation of the college football playoff. But I think Oklahoma and Texas are going to fit right in. I think both programs are moving in a really good direction. And, once Quinn Ewers leaves, this Arch Manning kid is going to come in. And I think expectations for him, of course, are going to be sky high. So I think both programs are in a pretty good spot.
You think Notre Dame's tired? They certainly looked bad on Saturday in a 33-20 loss at Louisville.
Yeah, they look really tired. They look really tired. I'm really tired of watching Notre Dame be tired because I think they have so much talent with Sam Hartman. I really do think he's good, and I think Audric Estime really is good. It's just everybody else that wasn't stepping out. Like, they need to get wide receivers. How long have we been saying that this Notre Dame team needs to start recruiting wide receivers? And I understand they have academic standards and all of these things, but there have to be smart human beings that can also get separation when running routes. Like, those two things they can pair together somewhere, right? So they need to get better wide receivers. It doesn't matter who you got at quarterback if they can't throw to anybody.
Yeah, and they couldn't stop anybody against Louisville either. So it doesn't get any easier for them. They got Southern Cal coming in this week. We'll talk about that in a second. Alabama goes to Cal Field and gets a win. The game was tied at halftime. Alabama took control late, and they finish it off with a win.
Yeah, there were a couple of games in the SEC this weekend that felt like statement games, maybe none more so than Jalen Milroe throwing the ball the way that he did. Now, granted, it was really just two guys that were on the receiving end of those passes, but Texas A&M had zero answer for it. It felt like they expected Milroe to run the ball 1,000 times, and he said, no, I actually do have an arm. I'm going to throw the ball all over the yard. And Jermaine Burton had himself a hell of a day in a pretty hostile environment in College Station. I'd written them off a little bit. I'll be honest. I thought that Alabama was done. Ole Miss had an opportunity to make that a reality. Swing and miss. Texas A&M had an opportunity to make that a reality. Swing and miss. And now what they've done is they've allowed Alabama to grow stronger. And they're in a position now where they can jump right back into the driver's seat of potentially not just winning the SEC, but getting into the college football playoff yet again.
How big a missed opportunity does that feel like for Texas A&M?
Huge, because they would have been in the driver's seat if they'd win this game. Regardless of where the game is being played, if you beat Alabama, if you're Texas A&M, it's a massive win. And if they were to have beaten Alabama and gotten, significantly better on offense, I thought Johnson played okay, but if they would have had a really strong offensive showing against the defense that we all know in Alabama is getting better week by week, I thought that would have been a really strong win for that program. And from a public perception standpoint, I think people would have looked at Texas A&M as a very viable threat in the SEC, whereas now it just feels like same old, same old.
I know you got 1,000 games going on all at once, so trying to get ready to do a late night show. But have you seen any of LSU the last couple of weeks and the offense and the lack of defense that has made these two track meets just crazy to watch?
They've been so much fun. I can't look away from LSU games. It's funny. They said something on the broadcast that it kind of struck me a little bit. I was like, whoa, pump the brakes. And then I thought about it. I mean, this is the best offense they've seen since the Burrow year. And I don't think that's a hyperbole. Like, Jaden Daniels can play, and they got some dudes on offense. They can play. I just wish their defense was, average. If the LSU defense was average, they'd be right in the thick of things as well. Because there's not I don't think there's a team in college football this year that can stop that offense once it's going from start to finish of a football game. There's no truly elite defense this year, so I think they'd be in it with everybody if they can just get a couple of stops on defense.
Chatting with Denton Day, host of College Football Overtime, 11 to 1 our time each and every Saturday night. It'll be post game coming up for this one as LSU and Auburn are a night kickoff inside Tiger Stadium. But I think, Denton, the eyes of the nation really on the Pac-12 as we enter this upcoming week, and I think it probably starts with Oregon headed to Seattle to play Washington in a top 10 matchup of unbeatens. Who do you like in that one early?
Man, this one's tough. So I had a preseason winning ticket on Washington, winning the Pac-12 and getting to the college football playoff. I've been super bullish on them since this offseason. But the team that I've been most impressed with in the Pac-12 has been Oregon because they play defense. When it feels like not a lot of teams in college football play good defense, Oregon is one of those teams. I think Washington being at home is going to give them a little bit of a boost. I know they're an early 2.5-point favorite. I think I would still lean Washington, but I would not be sitting here, come 6, 7 p.m. Eastern time after this game finishes up, being stunned jaw on the floor if Oregon ends up winning. I think this is going to be the game of the weekend, and I really do hope it comes down to a one-possession game in the fourth quarter. Just let two really great programs get out.
We mentioned Notre Dame a little earlier and how they may be running on fumes, had the trip across the pond to go play in Ireland, and they've played big-time matchups the last few weeks. And now the reigning Heisman Trophy winner is coming to South Bend as USC comes in. Do you think that the Irish can summon some courage and win this game?
I think they can, but I will tell you this. If they don't have a good day, something needs to change. Because you can't score against USC, you're in trouble. I mean, that defense is they are bad. I think this one will be fun, but this is going to be more of like a fun train wreck kind of game, whereas I think Oregon and Washington might be like just a genuinely good football game with great coaching decisions and smart football being played.
Pair of teams that have eyes on the SEC championship game did at some point during this season, but won't if they lose this game this weekend, is Texas A&M headed to Knoxville to play Tennessee. The loser will have two league losses. A&M already lost to Alabama, and Tennessee has Georgia still to play. So who do you like in that one on Rocky Top?
I like A&M to bounce back here. Tennessee's an early 3.5-point favorite, but I like A&M to bounce back. I just can't see, as much as you and I feel the same way about Texas A&M, and they're annoying, and their fan base is annoying, the program, like everything about them is annoying. I just can't see them losing back-to-back games. I mean, it would be quite the turn because literally just a couple of days ago, they could have been in the driver's seat to win the entire SEC. If they were to lose back-to-back games, and especially against the team in Tennessee, I don't hate Tennessee necessarily, but I'm not a huge Joe Milton guy. I never really got the hype. It felt like people were reaching for straws when they started calling him the next Anthony Richardson. I never saw it. If they go in and lose to Tennessee, I'd be really, really surprised. So I think Texas A&M gets back this weekend.
We do this just about every week. Let's do it again. Who's the best team in the country right now?
Well, it's not Texas. I was ready for it. It's certainly not Texas. I think right now it's Michigan. I think the gap between Michigan and Georgia is insanely close. I think both teams are really, really good, and it just comes down to who I trust more at quarterback, and right now that's J.J. McCarthy. So I think Michigan right now, top to bottom, is the best team in college football, and then Georgia's right behind them.
Michigan, once again, a 34-point favorite this week as they'll play Indiana. That schedule is just brutal at the beginning. We'll wait to see them play some bigger games moving forward. Denton, thanks so much for the time, man.
Hunter, appreciate it as always, man. Be well.
He is Denton Day, Sirius XM College Football Overtime, 11 to 1 our time each and every week, and he's with us every single Monday, usually at 2:30. But today we moved him up an hour into that 1:30 slots. Appreciate him being a little bit flexible there for us. It's as I was just going through some of the games, like this is a week where your biggest college football games of the weekend on paper are dealing with the Pac-12. I think Oregon and Washington's the biggest game of the the weekend that's in Seattle. I think that obviously Notre Dame and USC has big time implications because SC is unbeaten. You could suggest, I mean, there's another ranked Pac-12 game. It's just UCLA and Oregon State. But as far as the SEC goes, LSU Auburn doesn't quite have the zip that it usually does. So you're looking at A&M Tennessee is probably the biggest game. I mean, Georgia's got Vanderbilt. You got some teams that have byes. Ole Miss doesn't play this week. So an okay week of college football coming up. We'll get some bigger games, I think, as we move forward. We appreciate Denton for making a little bit of time for us here. And we'll close out hour number one. We'll get some sound from Brian Kelly after the win, and a big day for Matt McMahon on Saturday. I'll tell you why. Coming up next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Ochsner Health and MD Anderson Cancer Center have partnered to create Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center in southeastern Louisiana. This collaboration is going to provide patients in our region with cancer treatments that are among the most advanced in the nation. Ochsner is the first and the only provider in Louisiana that's got a fully integrated cancer program that's based on MD Anderson's practice standards and their treatment plans. They've got direct access to MD Anderson specialists and researchers, their innovative therapies, including clinical trials that are available to eligible patients. We're all affected by cancer one way or another, and Ochsner MD Anderson are teaming up to help continue that fight. They've got expert care that's being offered in 7 locations across New Orleans, St. Tammany, and Baton Rouge, and more are coming in the future. If you'd like more information on Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center, we invite you to visit ochsner.org.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
The best kept secret in town is out. Discover Tallulah at the Renaissance Hotel on Bluebonnet.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $12,000 off MSRP or 2.9% for 72 months on all new 23 Ram 1500 trucks in stock. All with Bayou's 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We're recapping your football weekend. We'll talk LSU, Mizzou, Saints, Patriots. We'll hear from Brian Kelly. Join us for Monday's AFR 3 to 6. 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Proud of my football team. I'm proud of, they fixed a lot of things, and it starts with them. It starts with our players and their ability to go out on the field and really, affect a change, from last week. They were much more physical. There's things that we certainly need to do better, but look, we were playing a really good football team, top 25 team on the road. So, our guys were ready to play. It didn't start the way we wanted to. We were in, obviously some compromising situations. We made some changes in the second quarter and settled down nicely. And then, we made some plays defensively. We got a couple interceptions. We got a couple 3-and-out and allowed our offense to kind of get going.
It's Brian Kelly post-game from up in Columbia after the Tigers win at 49-39. And that was kind of the lead of my show. There's yeah, you made a couple plays on defense, and that's really what you're going to be able to ask this defense to do. You're not going to put 4 quarters together with this group. They're going to give up yards. They're going to give up points. But can they make some plays? And they did make some plays. We know that last week, kind of the story surrounding the defense was, well, they didn't have a defensive line coach. Went and got Pete Jenkins to come in and help. And the question is, well, what could Pete Jenkins get accomplished in a week's time and throughout the rest of this regular season? And Brian Kelly was asked about Coach Jenkins' impact last week.
Having Pete here is helpful, and Pete brings a resume of work that immediately changes the attention level of our defensive linemen in a sense that when he speaks, they listen.
Yeah, I think you got in a position where you didn't have someone qualified to be the defensive line coach in your building. Now, it was not your fault. Having Jimmy Lindsey get sick before the season compromises your staff there from a football perspective. There's no doubt about it, and there's not really a quick way to fix that. And Brian Kelly said last week, I just wish I'd have called Pete a little bit earlier. And it wasn't like LSU's defensive line came out there and just was guns blazing. It was far from that. They were down 22-7 before you could blink. But you did see LSU crowding the line of scrimmage a little bit more, which I don't know how that wasn't corrected earlier, but you saw some of that. You saw Mason Smith be a little bit more active than we have seen him in the first month of the season. The statistics aren't crazy, but as a defensive tackle, they're not going to be. He had 4 stops. 2 of them were solo. He had a sack, which I thought was a face mask, but maybe based on the replay, it was not. Then he had a pass break over the line of scrimmage, batted 1 down. He had a quarterback pressure as well. You saw a little bit of that, and they made some plays, and hopefully Pete Jenkins has more wisdom to impart and can get these guys playing a little bit better, because I still don't think that they're playing to their potential. I could look at the defensive backfield and go, this is kind of what you got, but I think there's more in that defensive line. So let's see what Brian Kelly was once more asked, what impact did you see in the game from Pete Jenkins?
I thought we attacked so much better up front. I think our stances were better. I think we crowded the ball much better. I thought we were too far off the ball. I thought we were in reactive stances. We were much more attacking the line of scrimmage. And look, he was here for 3 days. We're not going to reinvent, the Bears, defense from '86. But I will say this, he did make an impact in terms of those things. And he's going to be here all year. And he'll continue to help us moving forward.
85 Bears, Brian. 85. The 86 team was good. They just didn't quite get it done. 85 was the great Bears defense. And no, LSU's not going to be that. But look, hopefully they can make some improvements. You've got a game against Auburn this week that is a pretty mediocre football team. And then you play Army, and then you've got a bye. So before you play Alabama, you've got the Auburn week, the Army week, the bye week, and into Bama. That's 4 weeks of practice between now and Bama to try to improve what you're doing on the defensive front. Got to take care of your business against Auburn, but that's kind of where my head is at looking at this defense trying to make some strides. Speaking of making strides, and we'll transition to close out the hour here, really, really, really good news for LSU men's basketball on Saturday. If you missed this, Matt McMahon gets a commitment from 4-star point guard Curtis Givens. Givens originally from Memphis. Is at Montverde Academy where Ben Simmons played down there. Where it's down there in Florida, and there's really good basketball being played down there. He's a 6'3", 180-pounder. The thought was that Memphis was really kind of leading the way there, but LSU and Matt McMahon able to land one of the 5 best point guards in the country, according to 247 and On3. Both have him ranked as a top 5 point guard in the nation. Every service has him as a 4-star. I watched some film on Givens. He's not what I would call an explosive athlete, but he's very smooth, very much under control, great on the hesitation dribble, works well off pick and roll. He's got a really pretty jump shot that he shoots. And he just looks like a distribute first, point guard who kind of runs the offense and keeps everybody on time. It's not, Derrick Rose with the athleticism getting up and flushing it above the rim. This is a guy that plays below the rim, but he's under control, great handling ability, looks like a good shooter. I think this is a great, great ad for Matt McMahon. And look, this is the deal. His first year, it was going to be tough to recruit kids to come here with no idea what the NCAA was going to do. So you stock the shelves with it from the transfer portal, and that's what they did. And they've really done that again this year. But this coming class will be the first one that knows that when they set on foot on campus at LSU that, hey, I'm going to be ready to roll. I can play in the NCAA tournament. We'll have our full allotment of scholarships. Like, there's no trouble. And I don't know how much it mattered in high school recruiting or didn't. I don't know because I'm not in those conversations. But Matt McMahon said it's great to have that weight lifted. And you look at what he's doing, and all of a sudden you look up and you've got 2 really nice high school pieces added in this class, both top 100 players in the country, with Robert Miller III and then Curtis Givens. Now, Miller's a legacy here. His dad played tight end in the early 90s at LSU, so there's a connection there. It's still great that you got him in. You work those connections. But Givens is just a really good player that a bunch of Power 5 and solid programs wanted, and LSU pulled him in. So that's a pair of 4-star commits in the top 100 in the country in the high school ranks. And we know that Matt McMahon said many times he wants to be old. He wants to get older players. They're going to get transfers in, and that's what they're going to do in this class as well. But he's starting to show that he can go in there and recruit. We know he can win a lot of games at Murray State. We know he can recruit that level of player. We know he can coach that level of player. We know he can win games at that level. You change the players you're recruiting and your competition, both in the living room and on the court, changes when you go from Murray State to LSU, and that's something that you just have to see if it works out. And again, I'm giving him a total pass on year 1. I'd like some improvement in year 2. We'll see. But I do really like the fact that in the last 3 weeks, Matt McMahon has gone out and pulled in high-level high school players and gotten them to commit to LSU. That's a really, really good sign for Matt McMahon in this basketball program. That fired me up when I saw that. So you got Robert Miller, the 6'10 power forward from Houston. Now you pull in Curtis Givens, a 6'3 point guard from Montverde Academy. And oh, by the way, there's a 5-star forward from Montverde Academy that maybe LSU can get a look at now that they've got Curtis Givens in the boat. We'll see. Still got a long time to go, but that's a really, really good thing for Ole Miss, for LSU men's basketball. And you feel like there's some positive momentum with the basketball program for the first time in a little bit. So I was thrilled when I got that news on Saturday when I was leaving the postgame show. Great work by about Matt McMahon to get Curtis Givens in the boat. That's it for hour number 1 here on this Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. First 30 minutes, I talked LSU and Missouri. You can always catch all of that on Hunt on LSU on YouTube. Hunt on LSU on YouTube. Beck does a great job of cutting those up into 10, 12-minute segments, and you can get those if you subscribe to our channel right there on your homepage. Also, you can catch it on demand. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, all those places, or our full shows, which are on YouTube each and every day. Denton Day with us at 1:30. He's from SiriusXM College Football Sports, and did a great job breaking down things from a national perspective on college football. So appreciate Denton for making a little bit of time for us on this Monday. When we come back to start hour number 2, we'll go through the results in the Southeastern Conference. We'll look at my picks against the spread, see how things are trending in that direction. Of course, we had a blowout in Athens, had a nail-biter that goes Alabama's way in College Station. The game up in Oxford, Ole Miss gets out alive. So plenty to get to on SEC perspective. And the Saints and Patriots yesterday was an absolute blowout in the Saints' favor. What does that say about the Saints moving forward? What does it say about the Patriots at this point? I've got my thoughts on that in hour number 2 as well. We'll also jump back to LSU and Missouri. We've got some more sound from Brian Kelly that we'll get to. Hope your work week is off to a good start on this Monday. Maybe you're not working because it's Columbus Day. I tried to go to the bank today. No such luck. I didn't even know it was Columbus Day. So there you are. But appreciate you hanging out with us. Either way, we'll pause for Sports Center and we'll come back with hour number 2 on this Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Ford has the new inventory to get you in a new Ford truck or SUV today, or customize your next vehicle just the way you want it. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Life in Louisiana is like a run-on sentence. A poem that doesn't rhyme. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
Running Bart's marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Board's marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines, or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, hardy plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Christine Lisi. This just in. Colts coach Shane Steichen telling reporters rookie quarterback Anthony Richardson will miss some time with a sprained AC joint in his shoulder. Team, though, not sure how much time that will be. Vikings coach Kevin O'Connell did not rule out receiver Justin Jefferson Sunday versus the Bears. He did say, though, they won't put him back on the field until his strained right hamstring is fully recovered. Giants optimistic about quarterback Daniel Jones playing at Buffalo Sunday. Coach Brian Daboll said that Jones doesn't feel terrible a day after injuring his neck. Patriots coach Bill Belichick sticking with Mac Jones as his starting quarterback despite pulling him in back-to-back blowout losses. Four-time Super Bowl champion Charlie Weis.
Forget about Mac Jones for a second. Who scares you on that offense? I mean, there's no wide receiver threat outside that makes you say, God, we have to stop that guy. They don't have Travis Kelce who's saying, we got to stop that guy.
Charlie Weis on Unsportsmanlike. Monday Night Football tonight. Raiders hosting the Packers. Coverage 8 Eastern on ABC and ESPN. Mannycast on ESPN2.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy. Coming up Tuesday, the 49ers are the clear #1 in my power rankings, but how will the rest of my top 5 shake out? You might be surprised. It's Unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We are, of course, coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city. Saints talk coming up in 15 minutes. Big win for the black and gold as they went up to Foxborough and handled their business against a bad New England team. But that was a good start. Good step in the right direction. So we'll talk Saints here coming up. But I wanted to spend some time on the SEC and what we saw in college football over the weekend. My picks against the spread from Friday. I took Western Michigan. I took the 20.5 points. They only lost by 13. That is a winner. Western Michigan at Mississippi State. I told you on Friday that I thought A&M would win the game by 20 points over Alabama. That's why I took A&M +1. They did not. Thank you, Tide. That was a thing of beauty. So I lose that one. Vanderbilt, Florida, I took Vanderbilt in the 18.5. Vanderbilt has not covered a game this season. They did not cover on Saturday. 38-14 was the final, a 24-point win. I was only catching 18.5. I did get this one exactly right, Kentucky and Georgia, and I'll talk about it in a second. But Georgia was only laying 14.5. They absolutely destroyed Kentucky, so I took that. And then Ole Miss -11.5. That one did not get home. The Hogs had a lead in that game in the fourth quarter. So I was 2-3 on the week against the number, currently 25-27 against the spread. But let's talk about some of these games, and we'll start with Kentucky and Georgia. This game went exactly the way I thought that it would go. This is a position that LSU was in for a decade, where you get the full attention of the most powerful force in college football. And Kentucky's not ready for that. And LSU was rarely ready for it when they were dealing with Alabama, obviously. And Kentucky's dealing with Georgia, and you get a home game at night. You're undefeated. You're going to get Georgia's best shot. It's the same thing Tennessee got last year when they went to Athens. And I said Kentucky's only chance here is to come out and get a scoring drive and get a quick stop and make sure that the tsunami doesn't hit you. And you look up, it's 14-0 after the first quarter, and at halftime it's 34-7, and you can turn out the lights. The yardstick in this game is one of the most lopsided I've ever seen in like a top 25 matchup. The yardstick in this game, 608 yards for Georgia. 608. And Kentucky didn't bust 200. I'd tell you exactly what Kentucky had, but my computer refuses to load the box score. But it was like 180-something. It was like 608 to 180-something. Just an absolute whitewashing by Georgia, and that's exactly the way I saw this game going. I didn't have really any doubt as to what that result was going to be. Kentucky's a physical team when they've got equal Jimmies and Joes. You start to play the elites in college football, I don't think Kentucky's going to hang more often than not, and they certainly didn't on Saturday. So nice confidence-building game for Carson Beck. Big win for Georgia, and they're probably not going to be tested again, I wouldn't think, until you get to Tennessee in November. Georgia's got Vanderbilt this coming week. I don't think that they'll have too much trouble with the doors. Let's go to College Station. A&M just flat missed a massive opportunity because Alabama is just not what they have been. They've still got really good defensive players. They've still got some talented guys on offense, but it's not the best offensive line you've ever seen. It's not the most accomplished passing quarterback you've ever seen. And their receiver room, while Jermaine Burton had a monster game, is not the Heisman Trophy level it was the last 3 years. And A&M had the game in Kyle Field. They've got pretty equal talent to Alabama. I know that's people roll their eyes and think that's crazy. It's not. Look at the talent that A&M's got on the defensive front. Look at the talent that A&M's got at wide receiver. They can match Alabama in a lot of areas. But they just didn't. They missed the opportunity. Bama goes out and even trailing at halftime, mounts a couple drives in the second half, and A&M's offense goes in the deep freeze. And if you look at A&M the last couple of weeks, this Bobby Petrino offense with all these weapons, and we thought maybe they've kind of found a bit of an improvement offensively, and you scored 27 on Arkansas offensively, you scored 20 on Auburn offensively, and you scored 20 on Bama offensively. Maybe they scored 20 on Arkansas because they returned a punt and they had a pick six. So their offense isn't really humming on all cylinders. They're struggling to score. Their defensive line causes havoc. And this A&M defense is so easy to look at and understand. They get a ton of sacks. They got 6 more sacks on Jalen Milroe. 6 sacks. But they can't cover. They're not athletic. And they've got a DB named DeBerry on the outside that basically Alabama started breaking the huddle and going, all right, where's he? Where's that guy? Okay, you're getting the ball. Like, the guy just couldn't cover. Stutter goes, post routes, stop. Like, he couldn't cover. And Alabama, as they generally do, just found a way to get it done. And while I do think Max is a good quarterback, I think he's a good SEC quarterback you can win games with, his flaw is that he does hold on to it a little too long. And that reared its ugly head with the safety there at the end when they had a chance to go down and make a play. And you get the safety and it's lights out. So Bama now in control of the West. LSU will have a say about that in a month. And we'll see what Ole Miss does. Now A&M's got to get up off the mat after the biggest missed opportunity in the Fisher era. And they got to go find a way to win in Knoxville, which is going to be a tough thing to do. So those were the two kind of big games. Arkansas and Ole Miss was an interesting game. I enjoyed sitting down and watching that one. Hogs take a lead early in the fourth quarter, and Ole Miss comes back with 10 points late to get it done and win the game in Oxford. It's Ole Miss's defense has played pretty well against everybody but LSU. They played pretty well against Alabama. They played pretty well against Arkansas. I mean, they held Arkansas to 20 points. They held Bama to, 24? 24-10 was the final there? Like, they've been pretty good, and LSU's offense just ran them off the field. Fortunately, LSU couldn't get a stop, but Arkansas, as we suspected, when they lost that BYU game, they probably weren't going to win for a month. And they lost to BYU, and they came to Baton Rouge and lost, and they went to Arlington and lost, and they went to Oxford and lost, and now they're going to go to Tuscaloosa and lose. And you just wonder if the wheels stay on. They're still fighting. If you were watching that game, they were fighting. But they just don't have the guys. They're not good enough on the offensive line, and they couldn't get the stops in the fourth quarter when they had to have it when they got that lead. And Ole Miss puts a 10 spot up in the fourth quarter and wins it. Quinshon Judkins still having trouble getting going unless it's LSU. Only 3.6 yards per carry, and he had a long one too. Had a 34-yarder, which accounted for half of his production. The other 17 carries went for 34 yards for him, which is 2 yards a pop. So Ole Miss, it's baffling to me to look at their statistics from this game and see that Jackson Dart threw for 153 yards and Quinshon Judkins ran for like 2 yards a carry. And then you look back at what they did against LSU last week, and it was just a track meet. It's like, geez, how bad can you be? How bad can you be? That Arkansas can put up a much better fight than you can. But in the past, Arkansas falls to 2-4, 0-3 in Southeastern Conference play thus far. So that's basically it. I don't really need to spend much time on Vanderbilt in Florida. Florida trounced them 38-14. I don't need to spend much time on Western Michigan, Mississippi State, because I think State's going 0-8 in the league. So that's your look at the Southeastern Conference over the weekend. So we'll come back, talk about the Saints, who looked a lot better on Sunday than they had in the previous couple of weeks on offense. That's next on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal, elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Marucci Sports, a champion of Louisiana. I've been telling you about them throughout this fall. You know Marucci because of the bats, LSU's baseball team, their equipment, Major League Baseball players, and that's all part of what Marucci does. And they grew from a little backyard operation here in Baton Rouge to one of the preeminent bat distributors in the country. But they also do some other things. They've got the Marucci World Series, which is a big tourism boon for the capital city and the state of Louisiana. Thousands come in each and every July to watch and play in that Marucci World Series. They've also got their baseball performance lab, which attracts talented people to work here in the state of Louisiana. There's so many good things for our state. That's why they're a champion of Louisiana. You may know a champion of Louisiana, whether it's a person, whether it's a nonprofit or a business. Go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana so that we can help tell their story here via LWCC. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team. And backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done, or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985.
Coming up on Tuesday's OTB. We close the book on another week of football as we open the page to a brand new one. First look at another Tiger and Tiger battle with Auburn. Plus, brand new OTB mailbag off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Look, the challenge really was for everybody to be better. So this wasn't an offense, defense, kicking game deal. This was a New Orleans Saints need to be better. We had to coach better. We had to play better. And I thought everybody, coaches, players, everybody alike, answered the challenge this week.
I would agree with everything Dennis Allen said there. Everybody's got to be better. And they were. The Saints played great yesterday. 34-0 was the final up in Foxborough. A statement win by the Saints to get back on track after a couple of bad weeks, especially offensively. And look, the Saints played really well. It wasn't some sort of work of art on offense. Derek Carr threw for 183 yards. He did stretch the field a little bit more. It wasn't a check down fest to Kamara all day. But he made some throws, had a couple of touchdown passes, and I thought was functional in the offense. Kamara and Kendre Miller carried the ball a combined 34 times for 117 yards. I thought that was really good as well. You got a lot of guys involved in the receiving game. Michael Thomas, Kendre Miller, Rashid Shaheed, Kamara, Olave, Morrow, Hill, Kirkwood, Graham. Like you got a lot of guys involved, and it was good. And the defense was excellent, as they generally are. They did a great job on defense. Tyron gets the big pick 6. You love to see that. So it was very, very good for the defense and for the offense. And look, Dennis Allen said this is how we should look.
This is what I want our team to look like. And now the challenge is can you replicate that week in and week out, in a tough league that we play in. And so I thought we had a great week of practice. I thought our preparation was awesome. I thought our focus was awesome. And I think the results showed.
And you had to know last week, as we sit here and do this for a living, we're talking about the Saints, and they've been so bad offensively the last couple of weeks, and the heat turns up on Pete Carmichael, and you feel like the Dennis Allen and Pete Carmichael are kind of coaching for their jobs. They've got to make sure this thing stays righted, and you get things moving with some wins. If not, there are going to have to be some changes made. And Dennis Allen actually didn't shy away from that, and he spoke to the fact that it was nice to have a week like that for Pete Carmichael.
If you're having struggles in an area, there's very few times that you can point in one individual direction and say that's the issue. So the challenge this week was for everybody, players and coaches, to show up. And I thought our guys answered the bell and showed up today.
And they did. I want to lead with that and be emphatic about that and say that 4 or 5 times like I have in the last 3 minutes of this segment. Like, the Saints were great, and they did things in this game that we expected them to do. We expect that the Saints defense is really good against bad quarterbacks, and they were. They threw a shutout. They got an interception. They got back and got some pressure. Carl Granderson is all over the field. What a find that guy has been. All that was there. And we expect that they get the ball to Michael Thomas and they get the ball to Alvin Kamara, and Derek Carr is not, a Pro Bowl type player, but is functioning and getting the ball out on time. And they were doing all those things that we thought that could make the Saints a good football team. And absolutely, that is the result. You get a 34-0 win. Here's the other side of this, which I can't go any further avoiding. The Patriots are a broken organization. It sounds crazy to say that based on the last 20 years, but that's a fact. What do we know to be the Patriots such a strong suit of theirs? Well, they had Tom Brady as the centerpiece of the organization, And they were famous for trading back in the draft and accumulating picks and bringing in a lot of role players that they could find in the 3rd and 7th round. And they could surround Tom Brady with that group and have Belichick coach him. And they were a juggernaut like the league's never seen before. But you would look at those teams and you say, well, who are the stars here? It's like they found Edelman somewhere. And then you look at the defense, and they don't have any of the guys that got picked 3rd in the draft. They weren't the team that was going out making huge splash free agent signings. No, they were just taking 3rd rounders and 5th rounders and making it work. But you need Brady to do that. And you've taken the best quarterback in the history of the sport out of the equation. You've subbed in a terrible quarterback in Matt Jones, who is awful and looks worse every week. And now you've surrounded him with all the little role players that you picked in the 6th round. It's a talentless roster. They're awful. And I thought more so than the Saints finding an offense and making things right and moving in the right direction, having wholesale I thought the Patriots just sucked. Like, that's as best as I can put it. We just watched this same Patriots team do this exact same thing a week earlier in Dallas. It was every bit that bad. And Dallas got boat raced last night. I still think Dallas is good, but for the point of the argument, you've got this organization that doesn't prioritize stars or high draft choices, and then you take the quarterback out that made this whole thing work, and now they're just nothing. They're terrible. They don't have good players. Last year, they didn't even have an offensive coordinator. So Bill Belichick is a great coach, one of the greatest coaches of all time. He got the best quarterback ever, and they went on a run like we've never seen before. But this ship has sailed in New England. Until there are wholesale changes made in that organization, they're not going to get better. They can't complete a simple toss from Mac Jones to the running back. How about that play yesterday? So I've been the guy preseason said I think the Saints are going to be really good. I was a little waffly last week on how this could be. And I wanted to lead this segment saying, good job, Saints. You put 34 points on the board. Got a little help in that regard from your defense. They pitched a shutout. They were great again. Excellent win. And the Patriots are a joke. It's crazy because it's a team and an organization that we've revered for so long. And they could do no wrong. And you don't doubt Bill Belichick and you don't doubt the Patriots. They're always going to figure it out. Well, this is a joke. They have one win. It's against the Jets. And I think they scored 19 points in that game. That's a 3-4 win football team. Doesn't mean the Saints can't win 10 or 11, but the Patriots are going to win 3. So when I sit back and I digest this game in full, I give the Saints 30% of the credit here for going out and executing, and I say 70% is on a program, an organization that has lost its way because a stubborn coach is applying the same logic with Mac Jones that he did with Tom Brady. Who are their receivers? Kendrick Bourne, Demono Douglas. You bring Ezekiel Elliott off the scrap heap to run the football. They got no talent. And then they lose their 2 best players on defense. You don't have Judon to rush the passer. They just don't have it. So I'm cautiously optimistic about what I saw from the Saints offense and feel like, okay, you're not playing the Patriots anymore. Now the Saints are set up now to take their run through the AFC South. Of course, they open with Tennessee in a game they won. They'll go to Houston this coming week. Then they got a Thursday night game with the Jaguars, and then they'll play at Indianapolis, who announced today that they're Anthony Richardson's going to miss some time with a shoulder injury. So we'll see if it's going to be in fact 3 weeks. Of course, Derek Carr had the shoulder injury, didn't miss any time. So up in the air at this point. But the Saints will play 3 straight AFC South teams before playing the Bears, who have not been very good outside of a little offensive explosion last weekend. So good win for the Saints. Gets you back over 500. Maybe the division's a little bit better than we thought. The Falcons are playing a little bit better than we thought they would. The Bucs are playing a lot better than we thought they would. But Saints get a win, and you got to move on to Houston and take a trip over down I-10. See what you can do to handle those guys coming up this weekend. But nice win by the black and gold. It's a more excitable Monday here. LSU goes on the road. Saints go on the road and get a win. This is a lot better than we felt this time last week when we were coming off the Ole Miss loss and that stinker that the Saints put up against the Bucs when they put up 9 points. So better mood today. Hope your mood is a good one as well. We'll come back. We got 30 minutes left to go. We'll transition back to some LSU football when we come back on the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets, onebathandclosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team been in the game 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. You love your interest rate, don't want to go anywhere, but you'd like to upgrade things a little bit? David Duvall and his team can do it. You can do a full remodel of your bathroom, full remodel of your closet, or something simple like a tub to shower conversion that's cost effective, time effective, and changes the functionality and the look of your bathroom. The best thing is that they can now take financing. Maybe things are a little tight financially, but you really want to get something done. Let David Duvall and his team work with you to get some financing figured out so that you can have that brand new bathroom remodel or redesign. Onebathandclosets.com is the website. You can see pictures of their great work. You can see testimonials. You can sign up for that free consultation. It's all right there at onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
When is a taco more than just a taco? When it's Government Taco. Voted best tacos 3 years in a row by 225 Magazine, Government Taco puts the most delicious spin on tacos the capital area has ever seen. With creative combinations like the Magna Carrot, the Filibuster, or the Steak of the Union. Plus perfect tortilla chips paired with the best salsa and queso you've ever had. And happy hour every day from 3 to 6 p.m. and all day on Thursday. Government Taco, 5621 Government Street.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Running Boards Marketing can help you get their attention. Imagine your brand's message on a giant LED billboard truck that can't be skipped and is nearly impossible to ignore. Running Boards Marketing is the leader in effective and affordable advertising on digital mobile billboards, which are 2 times more effective than traditional billboards. With a 97% recall rate, you'll leave a lasting impression with your customers.
Matt Moscona inviting you to join us for Monday's AFR, presented by Relief Windows. We're recapping your football weekend. We'll talk LSU, Mizzou, Saints, Patriots. We'll hear from Brian Kelly. Join us for Monday's AFR 3 to 6, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, 30 minutes to go here. Monday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show. Thanks for hanging out with us here to start your work week on this Monday. Hopefully you had the day off, Columbus Day. I don't know who's taking Columbus Day off. My bank did. But if you did, good on you. Enjoy it. It's a nice day. It's one of those days. I saw a great meme on the internet somewhere today where it said that winter is at about 4 o'clock in the morning, and then spring is at like 10 o'clock in the morning, and then summer's at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then fall comes in around 6:30 p.m., which we're kind of hitting all the seasons. It was like 53 this morning when you woke up, and then 80 in the middle of the day, and then it's nice in the evenings. Just weird weather time, but apparently it was awesome weather in Columbia up over the weekend as LSU got up there. Temps in the 50s at kickoff, and LSU did enough to get the win. Go back and hear some Brian Kelly sound from the post game when he met with reporters and talked about the adjustments that they made in the secondary.
You know, we mixed up our coverages a lot more. As you know, early on we played a lot of man coverage, and there were tough matchups there for us. You know, Luther's a tough matchup, Weiss is a tough matchup, Mookie's a tough matchup. A lot of those guys were tough matchups for us, so we had to get into some more quarter coverage, some more half-roll coverage. We just started to mix things up.
Burden got his, that's for sure. That's a guy that Missouri made it a point to target. They threw him the football 17 times. He had 11 catches for 149 yards. That was clearly going to be an emphasis for them. Theo Weiss, the other guy that we talked about all week, 4 catches for 80 yards. He had, of course, had the touchdown as well. Look, the DBs are what they are, and it wasn't like they were getting a lot of hands-on footballs. They weren't batting the ball down a bunch, or there were a lot of guys running wide open as well. But you did get the pick at the end of the game, which mattered, and you did enough defensively to get the stops you had to get. One of the guys that had a pick in the game was Harold Perkins, and that was a really athletic play that he made, backing up into coverage. And Brian Kelly said after the game they kind of feel like they've got a bit of a role defined for 4.
It's been taking us a while to really get his role defined, and it's caused us some pain in a sense of the structure of our defense. I think we've now established where he can best fit, and it really allows us to be consistent with how we set our front and really establish the techniques that we want to run.
He's playing nickel, Sam. He's playing like the strong side linebacker and nickel. He is playing in the slot some. Then he'll come down. He'll rush the passer. He is coming on blitz. He drops his in coverage a little bit as well. He's an interesting player on defense. I mean, the guy that comes to mind for me is Isaiah Simmons from Clemson. That's a guy that was a high NFL draft pick and a guy who didn't get his contract renewed because sometimes you just have a hard time finding the role for that uber talented guy because the body type and the skill set just don't necessarily lend it to something traditional. And Harold Perkins' body style and playing style, it's not traditional. Guys that are really good at rushing the passer are usually 6'5", 270. I mean, Harold Perkins is 50 pounds lighter than that. He's not got long, rangy arms and limbs. That's not his game. He's got the body that looks more like an outside linebacker. But you don't want to waste him out there, covering guys in the slot a lot. You want to get him moving downhill and towards the quarterback and disrupting things. And that's what they're doing more often than not. But you do have to keep offenses honest, and you've got to drop him at times and move him at times and make sure they're aware of where he is. And he's a great athlete. I mean, he was an awesome offensive player in high school in the state of Texas, and he looked really natural dropping back and making that interception and coming back the other way with it. So, look, this is where I start to get out of my depth in terms of X's and O's and talking about football and whatnot and how it's best to use Harold Perkins. But I can tell you that his size and his game are not traditional. It's something that the coaching staff's having to look at. Last year as a freshman, it was pretty simple. We're going to put you right there on the edge, go. And I think to do that for 3 years in Baton Rouge would be counterproductive for his development as a football player. And you do have a responsibility as an elite college football program to take elite college football players and develop them. Like that is part of your job. Job one is to win games. That's job one. If you develop a ton of NFL guys and you get them all paid and you've got the most guys in the league, but you win 7 games every year, you get fired. if you don't develop anybody into the NFL and you win 11 or 12 games every year, you get contract extensions and raises and you win championships. I'm well aware of that, but there are levels to all of these. And one of the levels of recruiting and bringing in elite players is you have to promise them that you're going to get them ready to play professionally. We hear Jay Johnson talk about that all the time. If you want to be a major league player, you need to come here and develop this way. It's a sales pitch, and it's one that'll keep the turnstiles rolling. Can't be the most important thing, but it has to be an important thing. And I think they're prioritizing that a little bit with Harold at this point. Speaking of pass rush, LSU did get a little bit of pass rush late in the game, and Brian Kelly spoke to why.
I think it was just the attrition of just leaning on them all game. We didn't bring a lot of pressure because I didn't want to get into a lot of matchup issues. You know, I didn't want to get into a lot of cover one situations where we had 3 one-on-one. So it was a 4-man pass rush, and I just think leaning on them the whole game, we started to wear them down.
That quote agitated some people, saying, "Hey, why are you saying you don't want to get into one-on-one matchups? Why are you're not bringing pressure because you're scared?" And look, man, they're going to bring some pressure. They're going to blitz. They're going to get some pass rush at times. But if you spend too much time asking LSU's current secondary to run with Luther Burden one-on-one, you're going to be in big trouble a lot. That's just the facts, man. You do not have Derek Stingley out there to run with him. You do not have Patrick Peterson out there to run with him. You do not have Tre'Davious White out there to run with him, or Christian Fulton or Corey Webster. Like, that guy's not there. Luther Burden is going to win 9 out of 10 one-on-ones. You just can't allow that. So from a numbers perspective, you're going to have to try to win with 4 up front. That's just the way it's going to have to be. You can't put that much pressure on these DBs in space, because if you don't get home immediately, you're putting them in a really compromised position. Now, not everybody's Luther Burden, but like Auburn doesn't have one. Auburn doesn't have great receiver play at all. They have some of the worst receiver play in the conference. But, you know, Jermaine Burton's doing some great things at Alabama. Pearsall's been pretty good at Florida. I've talked about the A&M guys with Evan Stewart, Anaya Smith, Moose Muhammad. Like, they've got some guys that give you issues. And when that's the case, you're probably going to have to back up a little bit and hope that the front 4 can get some pressure. Not for the entire game on every snap, but more often than not. Because you can't leave those corners. And that's what Brian Kelly's saying. It's very honest. Those of you who are frustrated by press conference answers probably really like those, because it is an answer that's what he feels, and he's not telling a lie. Just can't put our guys up there with Luther Burden far too often. But they got a little bit of a pass rush late. Of course, you saw Swinson get back there and make a play. You saw Mason Smith get back there a couple times and make a play. I think they can send Whit Weeks some, and he can get in there and try to bust some things up and make a play. Mekhi Wingo can, generally speaking, get back there and do little things. They got 3 hurries and 2 sacks. 5 times you affected the quarterback statistically. I'd like it to be closer to 7 or 8, but 5 times is what it is. It's about as good as you can ask for at this point. They're just they're doing the best they can. The good news is the guys on the other side that have the ball for LSU are doing a pretty good job, and they were able to put up 42 points on this Missouri defense that was statistically number 1 in the league in rush defense and had been pretty good against some bad teams. They stepped up in class and couldn't quite get it done, and LSU did. So those are some thoughts from Brian Kelly in the post game. All right, that's just about it here on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. We will take one more time out. We'll come back. We'll play some Take It or Leave It. We'll get on down the road. Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electric. Storm season just about over. That doesn't mean it's not a good time to give Boudreaux's Electric a call and get that Generac generator installed at your home. Boudreaux's Electric, owned and operated by Neil and Melissa Boudreaux for 40 years. They're a premier Generac generator dealer. That means they're in the top 3% nationwide with generators. And what a great deal is a free 10-year warranty on every Generac generator that you get installed at your home. A free 10-year warranty. Wouldn't you just feel much more comfortable at home, or it's storm season or not, that the power's never going to go out on you? Even if you leave, wouldn't you want to return to a house that's been cooled? Wouldn't you want to return to a house that doesn't have all of the food in the fridge and freezer spoiled because the power's been out for 3 days? Let Boudreaux's Electric take care of you. Call the same number that they've had for 40 years. Get a tech out and install that Generac generator. It's 985-397-1562. 985-397-1562. That's Boudreaux's Electric.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Scooncha, fall in the air. Fall is right around the corner, which means fall fishing is, which means it's time for you to take your boat to the next level with front-to-back boat service in a bunch of different ways. You want a custom stair job, you can have a ton of fun out there on the water. They can do that. What about a spot lock trolling motor? So you stay right where you need to in casting lines. Or sonar that's let you see the fish under the water before you cast. All of your maintenance needs as well. For 38 years, they've been at it and will continue to do so. The Sherman family of front-to-back boat service.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-757.
On Tuesday's OTB, we close the book on another week of football as we open the page to a brand new one. First look at another Tiger on Tiger battle with Auburn, plus brand new OTB mailbag off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Little housekeeping here as we wrap things up on a Monday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. For those that missed it, because I did on Saturday night, was watching Ole Miss and Arkansas in baseball and didn't see the announcement. LSU and Auburn will be a 6 o'clock kickoff inside Tiger Stadium this weekend. They had the or on it last week. They had 6 or 6:30. It'll be 6 o'clock for LSU and Auburn this weekend. Army is the next weekend. That'll be a 6:30 kickoff from inside Tiger Stadium. So a couple of Saturday nights in Death Valley coming up over the next 2 weeks. Excited to get in there. Should be, I think the atmosphere probably was saved by beating Missouri. You lose to Missouri and give up 45 points, and your defense has been that bad for 2 weeks. I think you're probably going to have a pretty poor environment for Auburn. Right now, you got one loss in the league. You've won 3 league games. You've got a chance to get to the bye with a chance to play for the lead in the West. I think there's reason to be optimistic about that. So I think it'll be a pretty good crowd for LSU and Auburn coming up on Saturday night. All right, let's play some Take It or Leave It. Jacob Beck.
All right, first one here. Auburn coach Hugh Freeze on Jaden Daniels. He said this: I don't want to talk about game plans, but I don't think you can stop him. There are just too many weapons around him, and he's too good. The key to this game is, can we hold them to field goals? Truthfully, nobody has stopped him. Honesty, take it or leave it.
I'll take it. Yeah, I think that's fine. Look, that's kind of what I was talking about in my second segment today when I was talking about the LSU offense. And right now, because of the balance and the way that the offensive line is playing, there are too many weapons for LSU. You've got the quarterback throwing it down the field. You've got the quarterback running. You've got a consistent running game. You've got multiple options out at wide receiver. You've got a quality tight end. Like, they've just kind of got everything cooking right now offensively, and that's true. And that's why we do our key to the game segment every week on the pregame show. And I was like, I can basically just give you the key to the game for every game moving forward. It's going to be, can LSU's defense, which is not going to stop teams from rolling up 540 yards, force a couple of field goals in the red zone and get an interception or two. And by the same token, LSU's offense is going to be rolling up and down the field on just about everybody. But when you get inside the 20s, do you get a touchdown or do you have to settle for a field goal? So we called them 4-point plays last week. That's a line I got from Eli Drinkwitz. And that's basically what this thing is going to come down to. I just don't think there's going to be a game moving forward where LSU gets 280 yards of offense or holds a team to 195 yards of offense. Like, that's just not in the cards for this team on either perspective. So, yeah, I'm with Hugh Freeze. You got to try to hold LSU to field goals, and that's kind of what LSU's trying to do on the other side as well. So here we go.
Bengals got a 34-10 win over the Cardinals, and Joe Burrow threw for 317 yards and 3 scores. Joey B is back. Take it or leave it.
Take it.
I'll take it.
I was putting a fork in the Bengals last week, and look, I don't know. I was being a little sarcastic there with the fact that they're back. He did look healthier yesterday. He moved a little bit better. They threw the ball down the field. I mean, that game plan that they had a couple of weeks ago where he basically just threw a bunch of 3-yard slants to Jamar Chase all day and little out routes, like, and then they went to Tennessee the next week and couldn't do anything. That was not sustainable and was really like counterintuitive for him to be out there because he wasn't helping. But they looked like themselves in that game, and obviously they got Chase going in a big way. He put up 50 in our fantasy league for a buddy of mine. In the game, he had 15 catches for 192 yards and 3 scores. That's the Joe to Jamar we've seen. And coming into this game, Jamar had not scored a touchdown the entire season. Then he goes for 3 on the Cardinals. I don't think the Cardinals are great. They got Josh Dobbs out there slinging it around. But, yeah, it was nice to see Burrow get that done. The Bengals are still 2-3, which is not great. But they've won 2 out of their last 3. And they got Seattle, San Francisco, Buffalo coming up. So that's not exactly a picnic for Joe and Jamar and the boys. But it was good to see them go on the road, score some points because they hadn't been doing that. They scored 3 on the Titans, scored 19 on the Rams. So it was good to see them go out there, get that done. They're still in a really tough division and a little bit behind the 8 ball. But they were last year, and they rattled off like 1 million wins in a row. So hopefully they can do more of the same moving forward. That was good to see. So Houday, let's go Bengals.
The International Olympic Committee will vote on including flag football at the 2028 Summer Games in Los Angeles. Flag football in the Olympics. Take it or leave it.
I'm leaving this. We don't need flag football in the Olympics. That's fine for ancient athletes and 7-year-olds if you want to go do that. But like in the Olympics, let's stick to the Olympic sports. Let's do some track. Let's do some swimming. We'll do some archery and wrestling. We don't need to play flag football. That's who becomes the Olympian in flag football. I mean, I'm assuming we're not putting Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase out there. I'd give us a pretty good chance to beat Japan in flag football if those are the guys we put out there. But maybe
college. I don't know.
But I mean, like, that's the point. Like, we're putting so the Olympic gold medalist in flag football would be not even in the top 400 400 football players in the world. Like,
yeah,
who are these competitors? Like I just think that's a stupid idea. We got enough Olympic sports. You don't have to mess with the Olympics. Like baseball's in and out, golf's in and out. Like, why do we always have to change everything? Just stick to the Olympics. The Olympics are fine. They don't need flag football. No one wants to watch flag football either.
Yeah,
I'm out on this idea just in its entirety. I'm still going back to like, who's playing flag football, and what if we sent the 49ers out there to go play them? I don't think it would go so high.
Yeah, so they still have to vote on it. I'm not sure it's going to pass or not, but we'll see. Last one here. Clayton Kershaw became the first pitcher in postseason history to allow 5 or more runs before recording an out. His final stat line, a third of an inning, 6 hits, 6 earned runs, and 1 walk. Kershaw raised his playoff ERA to 4.49 in 194 innings. This should keep Kershaw out of the Hall of Fame. Take it or leave it.
Definitely leave that. But it's going to be a lasting legacy of his because there's not enough time to correct it. He could certainly have some more good starts this year, and maybe they win a World Series, and maybe he can correct it in terms of 1 year. But he's so far towards the back end of his career now that he's not going to amass enough playoff innings moving forward to change this narrative of the fact that he was one of the best 2 pitchers of this generation. I would say him and Scherzer, probably the 2. You could maybe toss Verlander into that and DeGrom for a very short stretch. But I think Scherzer and Kershaw were kind of the pitchers of this generation. And Kershaw was just, for some reason, every time he showed up in the postseason, got knocked around. And even when he'd have a good start and would get through 4 shutout innings, with 2 outs in the 5th, he'd just explode and he'd give up a 5 spot. It's crazy. And he's just been such a dominant pitcher his entire career. And that's not a small sample size, almost 200 innings. That's a full major league season of outings that are just not good. His ERA is 4.5. This is a career 2 and change ERA guy who just can't get guys out. So this has been interesting to watch because the Dodgers have been so good for so long, and they only paid it off one time in the COVID year.
Yeah,
it's a testament to how tough it is to win the World Series. It really is, because they've been so good for so long and had so many stars, and they just haven't been able to get to the finish line. And they don't have their full weekend rotation. That's a college term. They don't have their full rotation here. Bueller's been out for the year, and they lose Dustin May too. But he's, as far as Kershaw goes, this will be a footnote on his resume. He's a slam dunk, first ballot, no doubt Hall of Famer, and one of the pitchers of this generation. But his playoff stats have been awful. So that's it for Take It or Leave It. There is some baseball tonight. I don't know that the football game really does much for me tonight, quite frankly. So I think I'll probably watch a little bit of baseball. Packers and Raiders is not necessarily my speed. Phillies Braves is very much my speed. That's a 5 o'clock game on TBS. And the nightcap tonight at 8:07 is Diamondbacks and Dodgers. The visiting team won game 1 of both of those 2 National League series, which has kind of brought into some thought that week off that these top seeds are getting maybe counterproductive as the Phillies are able to get hot and swing the bats. I don't know if I believe that. Being able to set your rotation up and getting a little bit of time off to rest some guys, I think it's generally a good thing. The Braves were not shut out at home in any game all season, and they got shut out in their first playoff game. That's wild stuff. It's going to be Zach Wheeler against Max Fried in Atlanta. That should be a dandy. And then, look, Zach Gallen going for Arizona. They could very easily take a 2-0 lead on the Dodgers in a best-of-5. That would be something to behold. I think I like the Braves tonight to get right, and I like the Diamondbacks to beat the Dodgers in Dodger Stadium and make that 2-0. That's crazy. The Cubs were right there with the Diamondbacks all year, and the Diamondbacks feels like they're inching towards getting to the League Championship Series, which is nuts to me because I don't think anybody expected them to be that good. But here we are, a little baseball tonight. We're talking football tomorrow on the show. Going to have Glenn West of Go 24/7 talking LSU. We'll have Sharif Ishak of did I say WDSU? Go 247. Sharif Ishak of WDSU will join us to talk about the black and gold as we inch closer to the Saints at the Texans, and we talk LSU and Auburn as well. So very much looking forward to tomorrow's Tuesday show. If you missed any of our show today, you can always catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google. Anywhere you find your audio, you can find us. You can always find us on YouTube as well. Our full shows are archived there each and every day. And then we've got 2 YouTube channels we'd love you to subscribe to, Hunt on LSU and Hunt on Saints. Subscribe to those 2. You'll get our Saints and LSU coverage right to your fingertips. First 30 minutes, we're on LSU and Missouri today. Then we had Denton Day, Sirius XM, college football overtime. Just kind of touching on some national college football storylines. I had some Brian Kelly audio, as well as a big commitment, Curtis Givens, to the LSU men's basketball program. My picks from the SEC against the spread, as well as some Saints Talk in hour number 2. Go and catch all of that on demand. Matt's going to drive you home next on After Further Review. We'll be back tomorrow, same time, same place. Hunt Palmer Show.